Saturday morning in Des Moines, Iowa, 22-year-old DarQuan Jones was heading out to visit his girlfriend. Nothing special or out of the ordinary until the unthinkable happened.
Yeah, Jones was jumped by two yet-to-be-identified or apprehended white men and brutally beaten. One of the men hurled racial epithets at their victim. His father says his son's face was broken in 5 different places. He survived and is out of the hospital, but his soul may be scarred for life.
Joining us now to discuss what happened and what is being done about it is Kameron Middlebrooks, president of the NAACP in Des Moines. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start with the obvious. How is DarQuan and his family doing now that he's at home?
You know, DarQuan, went through a very traumatic experience. We're happy that we're helping him through the recovery and not making funeral arrangements. But this is something that he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. First thing he wanted to do when he came home was figure out how soon he can get back to work. That's just the type of individual he is. But the injuries that impacted him with 5 broken bones in his face, a broken nose, a laceration the length of his face, as well as a broken wrist, is going to require him to be at home for much longer than he would want to be, and take him out of his natural routine. But he is in good spirits at this time. He has received overwhelmingly support from the community. But we are truly pushing the police department to find these actors, these cowards, as soon as possible, so we can get justice for Quan and his family.
Where does the case stand right now? Are there any suspects?
At this point, we haven't heard from the police department if they have a suspect. But based off of the indications that the witnesses gave, I do believe that they have some pretty good leads. And it's apparent that the perpetrators were most likely in and around that neighborhood or living in that neighborhood.
Well, let's go macro here a little bit, sir, and talk about the racial climate in Des Moines these days. Is this an isolated incident, or are there other issues that haven't been this serious or this, public, I guess you could say?
Yeah, thanks for that question. It's not so much isolated. 2 days prior to that incident, I also chair the Civil Rights Commission for the city of Des Moines, and we were holding our annual joint meeting with our city council. Obviously, we were doing it virtually through Zoom. As we were preparing to begin that meeting, we received our first of several Zoom bombs. The first image that showed had sexually explicit language directed at one of my fellow commissioners. The second image that was shown was racially explicit, directed at me. It stated "Black should die," had the N-word, and then "Kameron is an N-word." At that time, we attempted to troubleshoot and get that imagery off before the meeting actually started. We were able to start the meeting, but during the opening remarks from our mayor is when someone started to draw swastikas on our screen, and there was some more sexually explicit content in our chat box, as well as in profile pictures. At that point, we decided to cancel the meeting that night and look for a different date to hold that. But again, that was just Thursday of last week. In a joint statement that came from me as the chair of the commission and our mayor, I let them know the terrifying thing was, we wanted to see your name associated with that. And then in light of things that have happened very recently, from Ahmaud Arbery to Breonna Taylor, I knew that this had a potential of actually occurring in our city. I did not realize it would occur so soon and result in the brutal beating of Quan on Saturday morning.
My goodness, very disturbing to hear. Now, DarQuan lived to tell his story, but that hasn't been the case for Ahmaud, Trayvon, and countless others. Anything else you would like people to know as we wrap up here?
Sure. I think communities like mine, living in the state of Iowa, some of these smaller communities across the country, we sometimes feel like we're in a bubble, right? We hear about these horrific happenings across the country, whether it be in Georgia to Flint to St. Louis, but we never think it happened in our own backyard. And as we're dealing with this pandemic, with this invisible virus called COVID-19, I think we also have to remember that there's an invisible virus that has been around this country since its inception, and that virus is racism. We're living in a political time where I think people are feeling emboldened, and being stuck at home, I think that also emboldens people online. but people are actually taking action with that racist mindset. And we're just encouraging everybody to be on high alert, to look out for your friends, to look out for your neighbors, and you truly use this time as a time to come together and to work out ways that we could unify our communities and put forth equitable responses to these vicious attacks.
Kameron Middlebrooks, he's the president of the NAACP in Des Moines, Iowa. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing that important information with us. Please keep us posted.
Thank you for having me.